22nd and 9 games at 419. Yankees said, get on up here. Play for us. Driven out to left field and deep. Going back, Alvarez turning, looking. Welcome to the big league. See ya. A home run for Dominguez in his first big league at bat.
For about 24 hours, kind of very on the last like 5-6 hours where we thought it was in physical review, is complete. Juan Soto has been traded to the Yankees along with Trent Grisham. I strongly believe it is the 5 names we heard all afternoon.
Hey everybody, welcome to the newest edition of the Bronx Muchachos podcast, playoff edition, game 2. It's Mark, your boy Dave's here too.
Good morning, everybody.
Let's get right into this. Last night, Yankees lost 4-2. Not really the best outing they had. Rodón was pitching well up into the fourth inning. Gave up three runs technically, the fourth run as well because it was his inherited runner. He was pitching off a lot of emotion and kind of began to drain on him a little bit. I think that, personally, I still think he had enough stuff in there to get out of that inning and kind of, stop the bleeding where it was. But Boone didn't give him the chance, and then Boone gave the Royals the opportunity to see every single one of our bullpen arms last night, which in a short series and for the longevity of the Yankees in the playoffs is never a good thing. We're seeing this time and time again from Aaron Boone where he winds up using the bullpen too much, and they're burnt out by the LCS. Or because that's as far as Aaron Boone's ever gotten. No knock on him for that one, but it's the truth. He uses up the bullpen way too much, and they just don't have enough recovery time after a long season, and they're burnt out by the time they come into the high leverage situations and the big situations later on in the series. Also, from my point of view too, I think Boone missed a very big opportunity to make some changes in the bottom of the ninth inning. Could have brought in some pinch hitters. Could have brought in Oswaldo Cabrera for Volpe, who at that point was what, give or take 1 for 20 in his last 20 at bats, 1 for 20 with the one hit that game. I think that was a suitable time to make the change. I think it was suitable time to bring in Jason for Verdugo at that point too. When you're down by 2, anything could happen. Get a little youth in there, get a little spark going. So, but on a positive note, you do find that you do have another first baseman to use in John Birdie, who did an exceptional job last night. So instead of me rambling on about my bits and bots, let's Dave take it away. Give me your thoughts from last night.
I mean, when I saw Rodón start the game the way he did, striking out the side in the first inning, I was like, wow, this is great. This is the guy we paid $26 million a year for. Obviously, he hasn't learned how to use his emotion to his advantage. I think it did get the best of him. He was up to, 77 pitches by the time he got pulled. 86 pitches by the time he got pulled out of the fourth inning. That home run by Perez got him rattled a little bit. And then everything that happened after that just kind of got to him. And he never really recovered from it. From an emotion.
Rodón was at 70. Sorry, Rodón was at 72 pitches when he got pulled.
Oh, 72. I thought it was 86. Whatever.
Reagan's was at 87 pitches when he got pulled.
Oh, that's where I got my wires crossed. All right, it's still early. Leave me alone.
Oh no, I'm just helping you out there.
Yeah, no, I know. I appreciate it. This was a classic case of pitching showing up and offense not. I mean, we knew facing Cole Reagans was going to be a tough task. I actually thought we had a chance. We had a very good chance of beating him. We kept leaving dudes on base and kept hitting the ball right at somebody. It was like wherever they hit the ball, there was Tommy Pham catching the damn thing. So it was just one of those nights where the offense just didn't show up. And, you thought they had a chance to come back in the bottom of the ninth with Jazz hitting that home run. And then they just, failed to score 2 more runs. Although in the postseason, trying to come back from a 3-run deficit in the ninth inning is a really tough task. So there's that.
Yeah, but that's why I say that that's a perfect opportunity when you see that your team's been struggling all game to make some changes at the bottom of the ninth. I mean, there's no harm at that point. There's no harm that, hey, this hasn't been working for us this game. Let's switch gears. And that goes back to some things I always say is that Boone doesn't have that in-game capability of making those changes, and it's now 6 years, 7 years, whatever the case may be, of the same thing time and time again. And I don't know when we're going to see that kind of change.
And the other thing that's really pissing me off is like Volpe ain't hitting. You need to do. He should have been pulled. I'm sorry, he should have been pulled mid-game for Cabrera, somebody that can play shortstop. Like, and I hate to make this comparison, but you see the season that Trey Sweeney had between the regular season and the postseason, and it kind of makes you go, did we make the wrong choice? Granted, I think it should have been Peraza all along, but then you see, the third guy on the depth chart, Trey Sweeney, and the season he had once he got brought up by the Dodgers and then traded to Detroit, and, he got on base in that game yesterday, which was a freaking crazy game. By the way, if you didn't see that Detroit and Cleveland game, you missed out. Let me just tell you that. But yeah, Volpe should have been pulled mid-game for someone that he can't put bat on ball. He just can't. And I don't know what the issue is, but you can't keep running this kid out there in the playoffs and keep doing the same thing and expecting that it's going to change something. And to Mark's point, John Birdie, hell of a night playing first base, but I mean, you can play third, you can play first. That's kind of my theory behind the whole thing. He's
played like a bunch of different. Yeah, he's played a bunch of different positions. So I mean, he's got the capability and the flexibility.
But yeah, he played a hell of a first base last night. That double play was freaking nasty.
Yeah.
So
that's a move that a seasoned ball player, a seasoned first baseman.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I want to swing back to your point on Volpe, because you hit the nail on the head. Listen, the depth chart for shortstops in the minor leagues, Trey Sweeney, I don't think he was drafted as a shortstop because that's what he played in college.
Right.
I don't think they ever really saw him as a shortstop. I think they saw him more as
kind of messed up. Whoever made that decision messed up.
Yeah, well, that's part. After the season, we're gonna do a sit down with somebody and talk about the player development. I think that I'm sorry, not Birdie. I think Trey Sweeney was one of those. He was a high riser in the draft that particular year, and the Yankees saw a value where they could get value for him, not a full slot pick, and they picked him, and he just didn't work out in the system. But I think long run, my problem is this, that with the Yankees is that they have Anthony Volpe, and I'm not, I've always been, not negative, but I've always been kind of hesitant with him. My problem is that the business side has always taken over the baseball side, and they see a kid who grew up in New Jersey. All he wanted to do was become the Yankee shortstop. They put too many comparisons with him and Derek Jeter, thinking he's going to be the next Jeter, and he can't hold Jeter's jockstrap. Okay, that's not against the kid.
Nobody
both came up. You're right, but what I'm saying is that you put them side by side. They came up at the same time, the same age, not the same player.
No,
Volpe might have gotten a Gold Glove in his, but then again, you didn't have those defensive metrics at the time when Jeter came up, and when Jeter came up, when there was a lot of good shortstops that were in the league too, kind of like Volpe right now. Jeter was viewed as like the third best shortstop when out of those big three. Rightly so. A-Rod had all the five tools. Nomar was definitely the better hitter with power. Jeter was kind of like, if you think about it, Jeter was the 1-2 kind of guy. Nomar the 2-3. A-Rod was the middle of the order power guy. But I think the Yankees have put too much emphasis and too much stock into this whole Anthony Volpe narrative. When, like you said, you had an Oswald Peraza ready, and the whole point with Peraza is that I think that they were so scared that Peraza comes up and shows out and figure, what are we going to do with Volpe now? And they let him die in the vine. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with going into that season.
That's in that.
Well,
they tried. And failed.
Well, not failed. It was a last minute deal that Kim Nye tried to hold Cashman over the fires with. I think it was not last season. It was the season before with Gleyber Torres.
Didn't they try to leverage him with somebody with the Reds, or was it the Nationals? I forget.
I think. Well, when the Nationals. If my memory serves me correctly, when the Nationals originally put Juan Soto on the block,
That's what it was. Yeah.
It wasn't Peraza. It was they put Volpe on the block, saying you can have to get Soto. We'll put Volpe in there, and they turned around and said, "Nope, we don't want Volpe because he's not a shortstop." And that was from a couple of years ago, before he made his way into the majors. A lot of people don't see him like, listen, defensively he's done great, but you can see this year that, especially this postseason, like the moments are getting too big for him right now. And he needs to kind of simplify things. Game 1, Jazz and Verdugo had to start taking, balls that would normally Volpe would take, like they turn around, they just took those away from him. Yeah. And I think that as a young kid, like he's trying to do too much, but he's also not. He's going out of his way and kind of trying to make the spectacular plays each time. I think he should just worry more about the simple play, simple throw, simplify everything, and he's not doing that, which is kind of why, I thought last night was a perfect opportunity to get in a Cabrera, take him out, get him out of that situation. He's not performing well, get him out, move on, and you're not going to lose the kid at that point. You also
got to take into consideration what it might do to him mentally.
I don't think it's going to do much to him mentally because they've treated him like the golden boy since he showed up.
True.
So at this point, hey, everyone needs a breather. Everyone needs to take a time off. I still do think that another knock on Boone is that he never gave him a break.
Damon played every game this year until
just like last year, and you could see. Yeah, he played Volpe last year pretty much every game. I think 160 out of 162 games last year.
Yeah, I think he ran 56 this year.
Yeah, something like that. But he ran a kid into the ground 2 years in a row, and you can see that it's wearing on him that he's not an optimal level. And all of a sudden, but you know what also happens? The minute that they take him out and put somebody else in there, and like a Cabrera this past year, and Cabrera showed out, and then they quickly switched him back to make sure they didn't lose him. He showed up for a couple games and then reverted back to where he was. You need that kind of little cattle prod in the way. Like, no, you're not the golden boy. Come sit down for a second. Let's see how you respond. I think that they're just too much into this whole notion of Anthony Volpe and the whole business side of it all that it's going to affect him. And the whole talk last year was, we should sign him to an extension this year, give him $200 million after not even close to being a rookie of the year, but it's Gold Glove. Excuse me, this year I don't think he wins the Gold Glove this year, and there's no knock against him. He did pretty much put the same numbers he did last year, which is Gold Glove caliber numbers. So it's not a knock against him. I think it's Bobby Witt Jr.'s year to really show out and push himself way ahead of every other shortstop, with the exception of Gunnar Henderson, because I think Gunnar Henderson is still nips at his heels. So, yeah. Well, that's another podcast for another day, another time. Like I said, I think at that bottom of the ninth, when you are down, I think you get other guys in there who could come in and do something, and Boone lack that courage and lack that fortitude to make that move. I think that those would have been the moves to really signify to the team, we're in, listen, we got those guys, the guys that were subbing out. They're dudes. They're with us.
You got a 6-man bench for a reason. Kansas City pretty much used everybody last night off that bench. Why didn't we? What are you scared of? It's stupid.
It's Aaron Boone. That's a Boone.
All you gotta do is look at your binder, see who's got the better matchups against whoever the frig is on the mound. That's what they were doing. That's what Kansas City was doing.
Well, because Boone doesn't look at the binder. Boone has to be given the notes from inside. There's the big difference. Joe Girardi would use the binder.
This makes me want to drink at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I think because the day ends on why you want to drink at 7 o'clock in the morning.
No, this shit makes my head hurt. I'm not even kidding you.
Listen, I think that the transition or the evolution of the New York Yankee manager, you can see, was Joe Torre managed by the heartbeat, with being told how to really get things done by Zimmer and Mel Stottlemyre. So when he then he had other people around him. He had Joe Girardi around him. He had he had Joe Girardi. He had Ron Guidry. He had
Guidry towards the end. Mattingly, Soho.
He had a bunch of guys that can still kind of give him
Larry Boa, Tony Pena.
Yeah, was Tony
Randolph.
Well, Randolph's kind of left along the way.
Pena was there towards the end of Joe Torre's tenure, I believe.
And they kept him around because I know he was there the entire time for Joe Girardi.
He was a holdover from Girardi's last year in 2007.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, like, he had a lot of baseball smart people around him to help him kind of when Joe Torre kind of began to mail it in a bit and not push the envelope and not push the buttons the way it needs to be. He was, he had people there to kind of help him. Hey, we need to move around. Yeah. Joe Girardi comes in. Joe Girardi has the binder, and you got people that would complain about him in the binder all the time. Guess what? That binder helped him push forward, and he was ready to go every single game, like it was the last game, and he still
made some bonehead decisions though.
Every manager does. Every manager does. But what I'm saying to you is this: is that he wasn't there. He wasn't taking the notes from inside, from the nerds inside, going, that's the move we have to do.
I'll give you one example, not to get too sidetracked, but there was one game I was watching. I think they were playing the Red Sox or the Astros. I forget who it was. But Girardi goes out there, and I think I forget who the hell was even pitching. That's how long ago it was. But whoever was pitching gives up a grand slam, then he goes out and pulls the pitcher out of the game. It's like, bro, you should have probably pulled him out 3 batters ago.
maybe, but
that it was like,
but every manager goes through that stuff. I mean, Joe Torre's done that. I mean, look at the playoff spot where Joe Torre didn't even pull Jabba when Jabba was having the midges all around him, or didn't make the right moves at that point to mitigate all that mess that was happening on a rookie pitcher in a playoff game. So. Though that kind of thing happens. What I'm saying is there's an evolution of manager managing, binder and analytics taking over the roles and kind of managing by that, and then turning around to now what we have here, which is notes. As much as nobody wants to say, people don't want to say that in the Yankee organization, it's notes coming down, being told, "Hey, this is how we're doing this." But Joe and Aaron Boone was not given the notes like, oh, this is a perfect time to put the rookies in. This is a perfect time to change these guys up because of at least one person who they had out there. They weren't making that move. They're not because of Anthony Volpe and because of what the business side of that shows. That has always been my thing.
Yeah,
we've had people on before. Stacy, she's like, oh, no, he's gonna be fine. I wholeheartedly, strongly disagreed with her then. I still do now. I don't think that's the right call. I still don't think Anthony Volpe in totality is going to be the shortstop of the future of the New York Yankees. And it's not because of ability. I just think that they're going to get better, and especially the fact that they sat out a bunch of years with a bunch of dudes that could be that are better. And they sat those years out to not get shortstops at a prime position when you needed it. And look and now we're back in the same spot where there's the question marks again. And this year is no different. At the end of the year, like, you still have a lot of question marks at that position where he can handle it defensively, but is it a long term?
Can't hack it.
But my thing is this: can he truly handle it defensively? Because as he progresses, as he gets older, that speed will diminish, and his range will certainly diminish because his speed makes up for a lot of miscues. And once he gets to a certain point, it seems like his skill set will fall off.
He's probably going to end up transitioning to second base at some point in his career because he's not a very tall kid and he doesn't have very long arms. You look at all the shortstops.
He doesn't have the strength.
You look at all the shortstops in years past and how lanky. You have to have long arms and be somewhat tall. I mean, everyone thought Derek Jeter was too tall to be playing shortstop, but it still worked. He still had the range. He still had the reach. And that's
Well,
what you need playing that
up
position.
until a certain point. I mean, you got to remember.
Sure.
Something.
I mean, age took over. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that, but
no, age took over. But I mean, Derek Jeter was never viewed for the most part as a great defensive shortstop. And most of those guys that came up, they were more on the offensive side. Most of their greatness was offensively. Nomar definitely offensively.
Same thing with
A-Rod more offensively because the power numbers just were awe-dropping.
Well,
that he could,
we know why that was,
but that doesn't matter. But at the time, you have to take it back in the context of the time when they all came up. So that's what I'm saying. And don't forget, A-Rod won 2 Gold Gloves at shortstop, and those were the 2 years before he then transitioned to third base to be on the Yankees. So it's not like he was a slouch over there as well. Like he won third base, he won shortstop Gold Gloves. I'm just saying that last night. You have a kid that the moment's too big for him. That's the time that you should have your finger on the pulse and understand what's going on in your clubhouse. You don't have that. You don't have that understanding. You don't know what's happening. Make that move. Get that kid out of there. Not because he stinks. Not because of anything else. Just because you need that break, and he needs that mental break for it. Then you turn around and you have Verdugo, who had a great game the game before. No doubt about it, but he didn't have it this game. So what is the lump sum of what's the difference between one at bat between him or one at bat between your uber prospect? Give the uber prospect a shot.
And the longer the longer J-Dom and Rice sit on that bench, the more worried I get about putting them in a real game.
Well, I don't care about Rice. Rice is there just because Rizzo's not there. Like Rice is
placeholder.
Yeah, really. Like he's just dog food. Like honestly, if they wanted to make a real move, they wouldn't have. Rice wouldn't be up there because he's not that good. You would put T.J. Rumsfeld up there, who's a better option because he can play first base at a high level, and you can turn. And his bat is not bad at all. He can put up the home runs. He can put up the hits
with him.
So, like I think unless they re-sign I don't want to go into off-season stuff. We're still postseason, so we'll do off-season stuff when we do off-season stuff. But it wasn't that. I think pitching came in. Kansas City also has a lot of left-handers, and the Yankees have big problem, a big problem with left-handed batting, which is why another thing like, hey, if we're having this much problems, maybe switch it up. And Boone could not make that adjustment. Most managers could see that and make the adjustment. Like you just said before, Kansas City turned around and Kansas City jumped in. Boom. They used as much as they could, all that bench, and the bench turned around and was able to keep them ahead in the game. Yankees did not use their bench well. They put all these extra guys up there to have a better bench, and the better bench was not available for them because Aaron Boone made them unavailable.
Yeah.
At the perfect time to do things.
He didn't pinch hit anybody.
No.
He just left that starting lineup out there for the whole entire game.
Yeah.
Like
he just
you
doesn't understand.
Started making moves in the 7th inning when your guys weren't hitting the ball. Like it's not rocket science. I would have felt much better about this team going to Kansas City up 2-0 rather than tied 1-1 because now you just gave that team hope. You gave that team and that fan base hope that they're going to go into Kansas City and win 2 games.
I think that
hopefully Clarke Schmidt and Louis Seal can shut that shit down.
Well, I think Clarke Schmidt's going to come out. Clarke Schmidt's got to come out there and pitch the game of his life. I do think you got to turn around and you got to make an adjustment as well. I don't think you have a problem at first base because Cabrera or Birdie. I still think Cabrera gets the nod on Thursday.
Who would have thought? We thought our issue was first base. Now all of a sudden, our issue is shortstop. Like, who would have thought this would be a thing? Besides you. Besides you.
I've been preaching this for 2 years, and I take my lumps when I say it too. But because the kid's good, kid can handle right now. Could handle it at defensively. They need to give him a breather. They need to give him a breather. You give him 6 innings and let him go. I don't care. Oh, he does a damn good. He does Gold Glove caliber defense. Great. when it comes down, when a play like that happens,
Doesn't
when
score
you
you runs.
right, but when you comes down to the bottom of the ninth and you're 1 for 19 at that time, guess what? You can make that move. What's the difference? You lose, you're done. You don't put him back out. He's not going back in the field. Make those changes. Be creative. Be proactive. That's where the lack of ingenuity and the lack of imagination and the lack of trust in everybody else by Aaron Boone is mind-boggling. Like I said, Aaron Boone could be the best manager in the world when he's got when this team is hitting on all cylinders. Oh, Aaron Boone does nothing wrong. The little adversity that comes in, he crumbles, and I am tired of that.
Yeah,
personally.
I hear you. So, well, that's gonna do it for us this morning. Thank you for everybody joining us at this wee hour of the morning. If you're in Florida, be safe with Milton coming in and wrecking the damn place again. Like Mark's case, West Coast is going to get smashed in the face again for the second consecutive time this year. So Danny and Alex will be here Wednesday night, as I will be stuck at work riding out the storm up here in northern Florida. So hopefully Game 3 produces a win, and we can keep doing episodes like this. So have a good week, everybody. Stay safe.